The cold rain was nothing compared to the coldness in their eyes. He sat huddled in the grand velvet armchair in the corner of the lobby, trying to be invisible. But in a place like the Grand Majestic Hotel, a five-star palace of marble and gold, a man in tattered clothes is about as invisible as a thunderclap in a library. His name was Samuel, though no one had called him that in a long time. To the world, he was just another ghost of the streets, a man whose story had been washed away by rain and hardship. He wasn't here for shelter from the storm. He was here for a memory. This hotel, this very lobby, was the last place on earth that still held a piece of his soul. A sharp clicking sound on the marble floor approached. A young security guard, his uniform crisp and his face a mask of nervous duty, stopped a few feet away. "Sir," he began, his voice tight. "Sir, you can't be in here." Samuel looked up, his eyes clouded with a grief too old for his years, meeting the guards. He didn't say anything. He just clutched the worn, threadbare coat a little tighter. It was all he had left of a different life. The guard's discomfort grew. He spoke into his radio. A moment later, a man in a perfectly tailored gray suit appeared, gliding across the floor like a shark. This was Mr. Sterling, the hotel manager. His smile was thin, a crack in a frozen pond, and it didn't reach his eyes. His eyes swept over Samuel, taking in the matted hair, the dirt-caked fingers, the scent of rain and sorrow. Disgust was written all over his face. "What is this?" Sterling's voice was a low, angry hiss. He didn't speak to Samuel. He spoke to the guard, as if Samuel were a piece of trash that had blown in from the street. "I told you to be vigilant. We are a five-star establishment, not a charity shelter. Get him out, now." The guard took a step forward. "Sir, please, you need to come with me." Samuel finally found his voice. It was raspy, unused. "Please," he whispered. "Just a few more minutes." Sterling laughed, a short, ugly sound. "A few more minutes? Do you know how much a single night in this hotel costs? More than you'll make in a year. Your presence here is an insult to our paying guests." He gestured to a wealthy couple checking in, who were now staring with open disdain. The woman clutched her pearl necklace as if Samuel might somehow leap across the lobby and snatch it. The injustice of it felt like a physical blow, an insult. These people saw a stain on their perfect world. They didn't see a man. They didn't see the gaping wound in his chest that had never healed. He looked past the manager toward the grand piano in the center of the lobby. He could almost see her sitting there, his Clara, her fingers dancing on the ivory keys, a melody only he could hear. He had proposed to her right there, on one knee, the diamond on her finger sparkling in the light of the grand chandelier. They had spent every anniversary here. They had promised their daughter Lily that they would bring her here for her 16th birthday, for a fancy dinner in the rooftop restaurant. But Lily never made it to 16, and Clara was gone too. The car crash had taken them both. It had taken his life, his fortune, his very reason for breathing. He had built an empire in the tech world, a world of code and innovation, all for them. When they were gone, the empire meant nothing. The money was just paper. He had walked away from it all, letting his lawyers and a management board handle everything. He had walked into the shadows, a ghost haunted by the two brightest lights he had ever known. "Please," Samuel said again, his voice cracking with emotion. "Please, point a trembling finger at the piano. My wife, she used to play that piano." Sterling's face twisted into a sneer. "Oh, did she? I suppose she was a queen, too. Get him out of my hotel before I call the police and have you arrested for trespassing." The threat of police snapped something in Samuel. The humiliation was a hot fire in his gut. He had to try. He had to make them understand. "You don't understand," he pleaded, pushing himself up from the chair. His legs were weak. "This place, it's important. "It's important to me, too," Sterling shot back. "It's my job to protect its reputation from filth like you." The word filth echoed in the vast, opulent lobby. It bounced off the marble walls and seemed to pierce Samuel's heart. He stumbled back, the pain of that single word more cutting than any hunger pang or winter chill he had ever felt. Is that what he was now? Just filth? Have you ever felt completely misunderstood, judged by your appearance before you even have a chance to speak? It's a terrible feeling, and Samuel is living through the worst version of it right now. Let me know in the comments if you've ever experienced something like this. We all have a story, and it's a shame when people refuse to see it. The security guard, now emboldened by his boss, grabbed Samuel's arm. The grip was firm, bruising. "Let's go, old man. The party's over." As he was being pulled towards the revolving doors, towards the cold, unforgiving rain, a small, desperate idea sparked in Samuel's mind. There was one person who would know him, one person who had been with him from the beginning. "Wait," he croaked, trying to pull his arm free. Call Arthur Davidson. He's my lawyer. His number is on file." "For the owner." Sterling stopped. He turned around slowly, a look of amused curiosity on his face. "The owner? Are you delusional? Do you really think I'm going to bother the owner's legal team because some homeless lunatic is claiming to know them? What's next? Are you going to tell me you are the owner?" The question hung in the air, dripping with sarcasm. And in that moment, something shifted in Samuel. The grief that had been his constant companion for 5 long years was suddenly joined by a flicker of the man he used to be. The man who built things, the man who commanded boardrooms. A quiet fire started to burn behind his tired eyes. "Yes," Samuel said, his voice suddenly clear and steady. It wasn't loud, but it cut through the lobby's quiet murmur. "Yes, I am." A silence fell over the lobby. The couple at the check-in desk stopped talking. The bellhops paused. Even Mr. Sterling was momentarily speechless. Then he burst out laughing. It was a loud, cruel, braying laugh that filled the entire space. "That's rich," he howled, wiping a tear of mirth from his eye. "Oh, this is the best one I've ever heard. The owner! You own this hotel. That's fantastic. Absolutely fantastic." He turned to the guard. "Get him out. The joke's over." The guard began to drag him again. Panic surged in Samuel's chest. He was so close. "Wait," he shouted, a real shout this time, raw and desperate. "There's proof. Under the founder's plaque, the big bronze one by the main staircase. There's an inscription on the back of the marble slab it's mounted on, an inscription that only the man who commissioned it would know." Sterling paused again, intrigued despite himself. "An inscription? What kind of inscription?" Samuel's voice dropped to a near whisper, filled with a memory that was his and his alone. "It says, 'Amor vincit omnium.' Love conquers all. I had them carve it there for my wife, Clara." Sterling stared at him. He knew the plaque, of course. He walked past it a dozen times a day. But he had no idea what was behind it. Who would? It was a ridiculous claim. A last desperate lie from a crazy man. "You're pathetic," Sterling sneered. "You invent these elaborate stories. It's sad, really." He gestured to the door. "Goodbye." But as the guard pulled Samuel toward the exit, a young woman at the front desk, a trainee named Anna, looked up from her computer. Her face was pale. She had been there for only a month, and she was terrified of Mr. Sterling. But she was also a good person, and something in the old man's eyes, the raw pain and the flicker of sincerity, had touched her. On a whim, while Sterling was busy mocking him, she had pulled up the hotel's ownership file. It was heavily encrypted, but her manager-level access gave her a glimpse at the top-line summary. A name. A very old, black-and-white photo from a press clipping from years ago. The owner's name was Samuel Vance. Her heart hammered in her chest. The man in the photo was younger, clean-shaven, smiling, standing next to a beautiful woman. But the eyes, they were the same eyes as the man being thrown out into the rain. She took a breath. Her job was on the line, but her conscience was too. "Mr. Sterling?" she called out, her voice trembling slightly.
Sterling shot her an irritated glare. "What is it, Anna? Can't you see I'm busy cleaning up the trash?" "Sir," she swallowed hard. "The owner's name in the file, it's Samuel Vance." Sterling's sneer faltered for a fraction of a second. The name meant nothing to him. The owner was a faceless corporation, a name on a letterhead. He'd never met him. So what? It's probably a common name. "Sir, I think you should call Mr. Davidson," Anna whispered, pushing her luck. "The number is right here." Before Sterling could unleash his fury on her, the revolving doors spun, not to push Samuel out, but to let someone in. A man in an immaculate dark suit holding a high-end umbrella stepped inside. He was older, with sharp, intelligent eyes that immediately scanned the scene. He saw Samuel, held by the guard. He saw Sterling's furious face. He saw Anna's terrified one. His eyes landed on Samuel, and they widened, not with disgust, but with shocked recognition. "Sam?" the man said, his voice filled with disbelief and a deep, buried concern. "Samuel Vance? My God, is that really you?" The security guard's hand fell away from Samuel's arm as if it had been burned. Mr. Sterling's face went from red with anger to stark white with dawning horror. The man in the suit rushed forward, his expensive shoes silent on the marble. He stopped right in front of Samuel. "It's me, Sam. Arthur Davidson. We've been searching for you for years. After you disappeared, we didn't know what happened. We thought—" Arthur Davidson, the powerful head of the legal firm that managed the Vance estate, looked from his long-lost client to the pompous hotel manager. His expression hardened into ice. The tables have just turned in the most dramatic way possible. That moment of revelation is everything. If you're loving the story and you want to see Mr. Sterling get what he deserves, do me a favor and hit that like button. It really helps the channel, and it lets me know you want more stories just like this one. Now, let's see what happens next. Sterling looked like he had seen a ghost. His mouth opened and closed, but no sound came out. His carefully constructed world of five-star perfection was crumbling around him. Arthur turned his full attention to the manager. His voice was quiet, but it carried the weight of absolute authority. "I received a call from a very distressed young lady at the front desk. She told me the manager of the Grand Majestic was about to throw a homeless man out into a storm, a man who was claiming to be the owner." He paused, letting the words sink in. "Tell me, Mr. Sterling, what gave you the right to lay a hand on this man?" Sterling sputtered. I didn't know. He looks... how was I supposed to—" "You were supposed to be human," Arthur cut him off, his voice sharp as a razor. "You were supposed to show a shred of decency. You are the manager of this establishment, an establishment, I might add, that is wholly owned by the man you just called filth." He let that hang in the air for a moment. "This is Samuel Vance. He doesn't just have a reservation here, you fool. He owns this hotel. Every brick, every chair, and every single overpriced bottle of champagne in your minibars belongs to him." The collective gasp in the lobby was audible. The couple who had been sneering now looked at the floor in shame. The security guard looked like he wanted the marble floor to swallow him whole. But Samuel wasn't looking at any of them. He wasn't looking at Sterling's terrified face. His gaze was fixed on the grand piano. He slowly walked towards it, his gait unsteady, like a sailor finding his sea legs after years on land. He ran a hand over the polished wood, his fingers tracing the smooth, cool surface. He could almost feel the vibration of Clara's music under his palm. He sat down on the bench, not as a homeless man, not as an owner, but just as a husband. He touched a single key. A soft, mournful C-note echoed in the stunned silence of the lobby. It was a sound full of memory, of love, of unbearable loss. A single tear finally traced a clean path through the dirt on his cheek. He looked up, and his eyes, now clear and full of a terrible, quiet authority, found Mr. Sterling. "You're fired," Samuel said. His voice was soft, but it carried the finality of a judge's gavel. Sterling's face crumpled. "Please, Mr. Vance, it was a mistake, a misunderstanding. I can do better. It wasn't a misunderstanding," Samuel said, standing up. He walked slowly towards the manager, who flinched as if expecting a blow, but Samuel stopped a few feet away. "You understood perfectly. You saw a man who had nothing, and you decided he was worth nothing. You saw clothes, not a person. You saw a problem to be removed, not a soul in pain." He gestured around the grand lobby. "This place, I built this place from the ground up with the money I earned, but I didn't build it for people like you. I built it to be a place of beautiful memories, a place of joy. The day I proposed to my wife, the head bellman, a man named George, saw I was nervous and brought me a glass of water without me even asking. He saw a person. He showed kindness. You saw a stain on the carpet." He turned away from the now devastated Sterling. His eyes found Anna, who was still standing, trembling behind the front desk. He walked over to her. She looked up at him, her eyes wide with fear and awe. "What's your name?" Samuel asked, his voice gentle. "Anna, sir," she whispered. "Anna," Samuel repeated, a small, sad smile touching his lips for the first time in years. "In a room full of people who saw a ghost, you were the only one who tried to see a man. You showed compassion when your boss showed contempt. You chose kindness over fear." He looked at Arthur. "Arthur, please handle Mr. Sterling's severance. And Anna, as of this moment, you are the new general manager of the Grand Majestic. We can discuss the salary later, but I assure you, you will be well taken care of." Anna's jaw dropped. Tears welled in her eyes. "Sir, I don't know what to say." "Say you'll run this hotel with your heart. That's all I ask. Never let this place lose its soul again." He turned and walked back to the center of the lobby, stopping in the very spot where he had knelt all those years ago. He was still in tattered clothes, still bearing the marks of his years of grief, but he was no longer a ghost. He was the foundation. He was the memory. He had come home. The rain still fell outside, but for the first time in 5 years, Samuel felt a flicker of warmth, not from a fire or a coat, but from a purpose rediscovered. The hotel was no longer just a monument to what he had lost. It was now a testament to what he had found again, his own humanity.